Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into an iconic piece of American film history. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Mhm.
We're going behind the scenes, focusing specifically on Michael Douglas as producer, and, well, this pretty incredible, very personal story involving his father, Kirk Douglas.
It really is. And it's a film that still hits hard today, doesn't it?
Hmm.
It makes you ask, was McMurphy, Jack Nicholson's character, truly insane, or was he faking it?
Exactly.
And what does that reflect about the world outside the hospital walls? These questions, they sort of echo the film's own tough journey to get made.
That's a great point. Now, for this deep dive, our sources are quite interesting. We've got a recent interview with Michael Douglas looking back for the film's 50th anniversary.
Right.
And we also looked at an online discussion thread that popped up reacting to that interview. So kind of a mix.
Yeah, they give us a good perspective. So our goal today is to pull out the key insights, the real nuggets of knowledge from these sources. We're talking about the challenging production, some really surprising casting choices, and these, well, complex family dynamics that played a part in making it this Oscar-winning classic.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The origin story. This whole thing. It was initially Kirk Douglas's passion project, wasn't it?
Absolutely. He got his hands on Ken Kesey's novel, the groundbreaking 1962 book in galley form, like before it was even properly published.
Wow.
And then he had Dale Wasserman adapt it into a play, and Kirk starred in it himself on Broadway.
And this was right after Spartacus, peak Kirk Douglas time.
Peak Kirk Douglas, height of his career. But here's the thing. Despite all that star power, his deep connection to it, he tried for, what, about 15 years?
Yeah, something like
Tried
that.
for 15 years to get a film made.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't get any traction. No studio would bite. That long struggle really sets the scene for Michael stepping in.
I can imagine the frustration building up over that time. So how did Michael get involved then?
Well, Michael had his own connection. He'd read the book back in college, loved it, and he'd seen his dad in the play, of course. So when he heard Kirk was actually thinking about selling the rights, maybe giving up,
He saw his chance.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
He asked his dad, can I have a shot at setting this up? And his intention clearly was to cast Kirk in the lead.
And Kirk agreed.
Kirk said yes. But the way Michael tells it, Kirk sort of seemed to think, it'll be a good learning experience for the kid. Kind of dismissive, maybe.
Talk about an understatement later on. Okay, so this leads us to the really difficult part. Michael Douglas, in that interview, he's very blunt about it. Telling his own father he wasn't getting the part, he said it wasn't easy.
Oh, you can just imagine that conversation. I mean, 15 years had gone by since Kirk did the play.
Right, different time.
Different time. Kirk was older. His career was in a different spot. Michael, as the producer, his job was to make the best film possible, even if it meant this incredibly tough decision.
And how did Kirk take it?
Well, Michael says, to his father's credit, despite what must have been huge disappointment, he understood it. This whole thing, it really shows you something about, creative work. Sometimes those personal connections, they have to take a back seat to what's best for the project, artistically or commercially.
And Michael's decision, tough as it was, it kind of saved the project, didn't it? Turned his dad's dream into something huge.
Exactly. It created this whole new legacy for the material, and financially, it worked out incredibly well for Kirk.
Yeah, tell us about that part. That's quite surprising.
Well, Michael gave his father half of his producing deal. Half.
Really?
Yeah. And in the end, Kirk Douglas apparently made more money from Cuckoo's Nest as a producer via that deal than from any film he'd ever starred in as an actor.
That's incredible.
So Michael says he's eternally grateful for his good taste, meaning Kirk's taste in finding the book, and obviously for the film's massive success.
And Kirk's reaction to the actual film after all that?
Apparently he was blown away,
Mm-hmm.
just completely impressed. He couldn't say enough good things about Jack Nicholson's performance. He even reached out to Jack, sent him a personal note.
That's quite gracious.
Yeah. And later on, the two Douglases, Michael and Kirk, they had this running joke about it. Kirk would apparently tease Michael. Yeah, he wouldn't even cast me in his picture. Playfully, it seems.
Now, staying on the topic of Kirk Douglas's legacy for a moment, that online discussion we mentioned, the one reacting to the interview,
Mm-hmm.
our sources bring up another aspect here, a much, much darker one. There were comments in that discussion containing some very serious allegations about Kirk Douglas's past.
Yes. And we need to be clear. We're relaying this information strictly as it appears in those source comments.
Yeah.
We aren't verifying these claims, just reporting what's in the source material for balance.
Right. Understood.
Okay. So these comments, they connect the allegations to claims that have been made by others concerning the actress Natalie Wood. The comments allege that Natalie Wood was brutally raped by Kirk Douglas. This was supposedly when she was 15 at the Chateau Marmont Hotel. Her mother and sister were allegedly downstairs waiting.
That's deeply disturbing information from the comments.
It is. The comments describe Kirk Douglas as a drunk monster. They include alleged details about him trapping her, raping her, and then again after she passed out. Then telling her to come back the next day for the part, which the comments say she didn't do.
And according to these comments, did she tell anyone?
The comments state she told her mother, and then years later, after Kirk Douglas died, her sister Lana Wood revealed these details publicly. The comments also add that most people in the business confirmed it.
Okay. Again, it's crucial we state we are conveying what's present in the source comments, not validating these very serious allegations ourselves.
Absolutely. It's part of the information landscape around this film and its history, as presented in our sources.
Okay, let's shift back to the making of the film itself then. Michael Douglas talks about this magic moment, seeing the dailies, specifically Jack Nicholson's nonverbal acting in those group therapy scenes.
Right.
He said you just couldn't take your eyes off him. And it really reinforced Michael's belief that acting is, quote, not about talking, it's about listening.
Yeah, and that really points to how Cuckoo's Nest was so important in kind of cementing the Jack persona, the Nicholson we all know.
Before this, he was different.
Well, he was often seen as more the young intellectual, films like Five Easy Pieces, Easy Rider. Apparently, it was Hal Ashby who directed The Last Detail.
Mm-hmm.
Ashby showed Michael Douglas and director Miloš Forman footage of Jack from that film, and that showed the gravitas they were looking for. That kind of carried over into McMurphy.
It's hard to imagine anyone else now, but it wasn't always Nicholson, was it? Who else was considered?
Oh, the list of people who passed is amazing. Gene Hackman.
Wow.
Marlon Brando.
Brando.
As McMurphy. Can you picture it? And the director, Miloš Forman, he even had this, what Michael called a wacky idea about Burt Reynolds. Yep, Forman apparently called him cheap charisma.
I laugh slightly. Cheap charisma.
But they really wanted Jack. They actually waited about 6 months for him to finish another film he was working on. Michael felt that wait ultimately made Cuckoo's Nest stronger.
Did Michael ever think about acting in it himself? It was his first production, after all.
He did. Our sources say he secretly wanted to play Billy Bibbit.
The stuttering young man.
That's the one.
Yeah.
But he held back. He thought it might seem a little presumptuous, casting himself in his first producing gig.
Probably wise.
And anyway, that idea vanished pretty quickly when Brad Dourif auditioned. Apparently, Dourif just killed it, and it was Brad's first movie. He made such an impact.
Incredible debut. What about Nurse Ratch? That seems like another really tough role to cast.
Oh, huge challenge.
Yeah.
Think about it. This is 1973, 1974. Apparently, every major name actress at the time turned the part down. Geraldine Page, Anne Bancroft.
Really? Why? It's such an iconic villain role now.
Well, according to the sources, it was because of the women's liberation movement, which was really gaining momentum then. It was considered not cool to play a villain, or, as the sources put it more bluntly, not cool to play a bitch.
Interesting social context there. So how did they find Louise Fletcher?
She sort of came out of nowhere, really. She'd had a small part in a Robert Altman film. She did a screen test, and apparently she was just perfect, even though she had this sort of little voice.
But those eyes.
Exactly, those steely blue eyes. They matched Ken Kesey's description in the novel perfectly. She just embodied that quiet, chilling menace.
Amazing casting. But maybe the biggest challenge was Chief Bromden, right? The towering, silent character.
Definitely described as the biggest and toughest casting job. And how they found him is just pure serendipity.
How did it happen?
Michael Douglas was on a plane, happened to sit next to a guy named Mel Lambert. Lambert was a used car salesman, also a rodeo announcer.
Okay.
Totally random. But Lambert's father had been an Indian agent. And through that connection, they eventually found Will Sampson.
Who was he?
He was a forest ranger in Yakima, Washington. And when they met him at the airport, he was just visually perfect.
Yeah.
Close to 7 feet tall in his cowboy boots and hat, long hair.
Wow.
Jack Nicholson saw him and apparently just yelled, "It's the chief! It's the chief! I can't believe it!" Just instant recognition.
And since the character is mute for most of the film...
His acting ability, in terms of dialogue, wasn't the primary concern initially, right?
Yeah.
His presence was immense.
There's a funny story about that first meeting, too, isn't there? About the plane ride?
Oh, yeah. They chartered this small prop plane to bring him down, but it wasn't big enough for everyone comfortably.
So
Will Sampson, this giant of a man, sat up front next to the pilot. And Jack Nicholson apparently had to sit on Sampson's lap for the entire flight.
No way.
Yes. Just sitting there, apparently repeating, "I can't believe it's the chief," the whole time.
That is a mental image. What a start to a working relationship.
Definitely paints a picture. But, even after assembling this incredible cast, getting the film made, the journey wasn't over. What's really kind of bizarre is what happened after the film was finished.
What's that?
The studios rejected it again.
After it was completed, the final film.
Yep. The exact same movie that got 9 Academy Award nominations, as Michael puts it, turned down flat by all the major Hollywood studios.
Unbelievable. That must have really stayed with Michael Douglas.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about it as a really formative experience. It shaped his belief in sticking with projects he believed in, even when facing rejection later in his career.
And Miloš Forman, the director, he was quite new to Hollywood then, too, wasn't he? A bit of a risk.
A huge risk. A big bet, as Michael called him.
Yeah.
Michael recalled telling Forman on Oscar night, after Cuckoo's Nest won Best Picture and 4 other major awards, he told him something like, "Savor this, man. This is the best it's ever going to get. Like, soak it in."
Uh-oh. Famous last words.
Kind of, because years later, Forman directed Amadeus, which won 8 Oscars.
Right. Even more.
So Forman apparently loved teasing Heikel about it afterwards, saying, yeah, Mikey D, this is the best it's going to get, huh? Playful rivalry.
That's great. Now, there was also some trouble, some acrimony with Ken Kesey, the author of the book. What was that about?
Yeah, that was another significant hurdle. Kesey actually wrote a draft of the screenplay initially.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But apparently it just didn't work out. Michael notes it's actually not that unusual. Novelists sometimes struggle adapting their own work for the screen. Different medium.
True. But it got worse than just creative differences, right?
It did.
Yeah.
Kesey, who Michael describes as someone who didn't believe in contracts, had been given a percentage deal. But then he demanded double that percentage.
On what grounds?
He claimed the extra percentage was for writing that initial screenplay draft. He apparently carried this wound, felt slighted, and got support from other writers who felt he was being ripped off by the producers. It became quite contentious.
So how did that finally get resolved? Must have been messy.
The resolution is actually pretty unique. The other producer, Saul Zaentz, eventually settled the whole thing. Get this. He turned over $3.5 million.
To Kesey.
No, not directly. To the University of Oregon.
Why?
To create the Ken Kesey Chair in English Literature.
Wow. So like an endowed professorship in his name.
Exactly. Kesey accepted that arrangement, took the money for the university, and according to the sources, that settled the dispute pretty quickly.
What a fascinating, only in Hollywood kind of resolution. So the film overcomes all this, gets made, wins big. The artistic achievement was undeniable, wasn't it?
Undeniable. I mean, think about this compliment. Steven Spielberg.
Yep.
His film Jaws was also up for Best Picture that year, 1975. Huge film.
Massive, changed everything.
Right. Spielberg himself said that he would have voted for Cuckoo's Nest for Best Picture over his own movie.
That is incredibly high praise, especially from a direct competitor in the same year.
It really is. And it makes you think, what was going on in 1975? It was just an incredible year for movies.
Yeah. Look at the Best Picture nominees. Jaws, Dog Day Afternoon.
Barry Lyndon, Nashville.
And Cuckoo's Nest. Just powerhouse films.
Michael Douglas had a take on this. He described those films as auteur-driven, from the talent, the creative side. Meaning they were driven by the vision of the director, the writers, the actors, not necessarily by studio committees. He felt this was sort of before things became homogenized by the studios in their constant search for the widest possible audience.
Right. He saw them as individual statements.
Exactly. Less like products designed by market research, more like personal, sometimes risky, artistic visions. That freedom, that lack of interference, is probably why Cuckoo's Nest could be so daring with its casting, its themes, its whole approach. It really stands as a landmark of that era of filmmaking.
What an incredible story behind such an iconic film. We've really peeled back a lot of layers today, haven't we?
We really have.
Not just the making of story, but the personal costs, the industry hurdles, and yeah, some very complex and difficult legacies tied into it all.
And that really leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to consider. When you learn about all this intense, personal, sometimes really troubling stuff that goes on behind the scenes, the family issues, the artistic battles, even serious allegations like the ones mentioned,
Yeah.
how does knowing all that, the whole making of story, affect how you see the final film?
Mhm.
Or any piece of art, really, and the artist who created it?
That's a deep question.
Does it change how you try to separate the art from the artist or from the production messiness? Or does it maybe add another layer, another dimension to understanding how something so powerful and impactful actually comes into being? Something to think about.